I'm going to tell everyone about some of the things we're doing on I-35, on the I-35 corridor concerning safety, employee safety, contractors, employee safety, and then traffic safety. And this is just a breakdown of what I'll be telling you about the I-35 expansion through the Waco district, some of the safety requirements on our projects, telling you a little about I-35 safety summit meetings we have started, a little bit about the crash data through the corridor, and then a little about our I-35 incident management plan that we're in the process of putting together. A little bit of history to remind everybody where we came from. Through Central Texas back in the 20s, late teens and 20s, I guess it was Highway 2, came through from Austin, making its way to Fort Worth, and this is what construction was like back then. Some of the, I like the PPE those guys are wearing. Maybe they've got knee pads on their knees, if anything. Don't see any hard hats, any safety vests. A lot of heavy forming work though. Here's a high-speed slip form paving operation. That's one end of it, and here's the other end where the concrete's hitting the subgrade. That had to be slow progress. And here's a picture, I believe, from the 40s or early 50s of Highway 2, then became US 81, coming through the district. This picture, I believe, is around the Lacey Lakeview area. And then in the 60s, early 60s, late 50s, early 60s, I-35 comes through. This is in the Temple Belton area. Starts to look a little more like the interstate that a lot of us grew up with. Here's another one that's near Salado. Notice there's no guardrail protecting our concrete columns there. This slide says it's 1962. So TxDOT is committed to finishing the widening of I-35, bringing it to 6 lanes or 3 lanes both ways with continuous frontage roads from San Antonio to Hillsboro. A little bit about our efforts on I-35. This is the last 96 miles needing to be 6 lanes on I-35. Through the district, it's been split into 17 projects, cost of about $2 billion. 1.9 billion of that being construction. It's anticipated to be complete around late 2018. Traffic volumes from 55,000 to 115,000 trucks, up to 35%. Here's where we are currently. 66 miles of the corridor through the district is under construction. And next year, as we finish a few projects, the project lane construction should be completing probably spring, summer time frame or early fall. There's a few more, maybe west to Abbott, section 5B should be completing. And so we'll start, maybe the project just north of Waco 2, 5A, should be completing. And so we'll start seeing those miles come down. Here's a few of the workers back in the day. I figure that fellow on the left is the safety officer. I don't see any PPE except snake boots there or whatever. I figure those 2 guys on the right are the engineers, maybe. I don't know. As I said, we're getting I-35 to 3 lanes each direction. We're adding some crossings, some overpasses and underpasses along the way, adding and changing the ramps, getting continuous frontage roads, U-turns at selected interchanges, Adding safety rest areas, if any of y'all have seen those, we've had them for a few years down south of Salado, and this past year we opened up rest areas in Hill County, just south of Hillsboro. Adding some intelligent transportation infrastructure. We will have truck lane restrictions as we open those 3 lanes to traffic. A lot of aesthetics work and a lot of green or recycling efforts. Here's a picture of some of the finished work. This is interchange south of Waco at Highway 6. Statistics say 45% of the Texas population lives within 50 miles of I-35, and 30 million plus travelers every year come through the corridor. We have found, as we started the work, and some of the things I'll tell you about in a little bit, TTI is doing for us. They've found that 2/3 of the traffic on I-35 in the Waco area are traveling through Waco. The 2/3 of the traffic that are on the interstate south, in the south part of the district, are still on the interstate in the north part of the district, and vice versa. So a lot of commuting from Austin to Dallas and Dallas back to the south. 1,000+ businesses on the corridor from Salado to Hillsboro. Some of the things we've put in place in the plans to help with safety, we limited lane closures to nights. Sunday, 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Monday morning, and then Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., ending Friday, 7 in the morning. We have lane closure blackout dates. Coming up, we have the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We don't allow lane closures, and of course the Thanksgiving weekend, but Wednesday before Thanksgiving is one of the busiest days on the interstate, and so if you have some options, stay off the interstate that day and that weekend. Advanced notifications with electronic message signs. We required 6-day work week, and incentives for completing the projects early. A little bit of a picture of some of the work underway there. In 2011, we added some general notes to items 5 and 7, requiring joint contractor and TxDOT project safety plans. Some of the requirements of that joint safety plan, the contractor and TxDOT together are to develop a process to communicate daily activities and tailgate meetings, and so hold those meetings together. TxDOT attend those meetings with the contractor. Also, to a requirement to conduct bi-monthly or monthly joint safety meetings. I will add some of the challenges we've found in those 2 areas. The joint safety meetings are pretty successful, at least monthly. TxDOT's attending those with the contractor. Usually the contractor provides the topic, and the safety officer will do the meeting, or some of their supervisors. The daily tailgate meetings are a little more of a challenge. Contractors are starting work at 6 in the morning. We're trying to control our comp time amounts and hours that everybody has on the books, and we've got a lot of night work, and so attending. And the other challenge is contractors. Those tailgate meetings will be maybe the prime contractor and maybe 2 or 3 crews that they'll have working, but then also you got numerous subs that will be working, each having tailgate meetings, or hopefully having tailgate meetings. But getting TxDOT personnel to all those meetings at 6 in the morning is a challenge. So we try to get at least one inspector to those tailgate meetings and attend those and sit in and give some input. Some other requirements in the general notes: develop a safety issue escalation ladder where safety issues can be tackled and discussed, and a joint peer safety review team between TxDOT and the contractor. More requirements: the contractor safety responsible person is to have the 30-hour OSHA construction safety and health training. Supervisors and lead crew workers are to have the 10-hour OSHA construction and safety health training. And all employees, TxDOT and contractor, are to view the Safety Task Force video put together by the AGC Safety Task Force. And in those notes, there's no direct compensation to contractors for meeting these requirements. So that's some of the things that a little different twist, trying to put some commitments that TxDOT's going to do and that the contractors will do along these projects and in these contracts. This is a surveyor from back in the day. I don't know if you can see it very well. He's got about a dozen ducks hanging from his tripod there. I guess he's multitasking, I guess, as he surveys along the river. Has a duck decoy by his feet there. Something we have, getting into a little more traffic safety, something we have instituted in Waco. In October of 12, we had a 4th fatality accident in 5 weeks. Some of those accidents involved contractor personnel, and others were general public. But 4 fatalities in 5 weeks and some serious accidents. This picture here, I think, is the results of one of those pictures that Jay showed. A truck caught on fire in an accident north of Waco. And so in October of 12, we instituted our first I-35 Safety Summit. We held the meeting on October 29th. It's a joint meeting between TxDOT, law enforcement, and the contractors. And at that meeting and the subsequent meetings, we discussed safety issues and brainstorm solutions. Here's a picture from some of our latest. But the law enforcement, and I might give kudos to the DPS, local DPS Captain Tim Smith is very instrumental in getting those started with me, and they are faithful at attending those meetings, and a lot of our local city police departments attend. Some of the issues we discussed and at that first meeting, things we identified as issues affecting our safety, and I won't go through them all, but just a few of them. The speeding vehicles, speed limits 70 miles per hour is what we had on the highway when the construction started. Barriers, we have CTB lining the lanes in a lot of places, and some places taking away the shoulders, and that causing sight restrictions. We had our requirement for nighttime lane closures, which we avoid the heavy traffic closing lanes at night, but you do have that visibility concerns and maybe drowsy drivers and those kind of things. High truck volumes, and then hotspot areas where we had some crashes, southbound near Lorena and the US 190 I-35 weaving area in Belton. And again, a long list of some of the brainstorming and the way we split up the approach to tackle as many of these as we could, splitting those up into enforcement, engineering, and education areas, where in the enforcement area, things that local law enforcement or TxDOT can try to do to help make the corridor safer. Can DPS attend weekly construction meetings? And we're getting that in a lot of cases when they're available. They make construction meetings to hear what's planned on the construction project, what's coming up this next week. Also, the DPS visited with a lot of justice of the peace to inform them of the traffic fines double law and those kind of things. In the engineering area, we instituted using rumble strips for lane closures. We've tried to use no trucks in the left lane. We can't exactly enforce that on a 2-lane roadway, 2 lane going northbound and 2 lanes going southbound. But we've put up signs as advisory warnings trying to attempt that and accomplish that. We've, down at the bottom of that engineering list, we've installed end-of-queue warning systems that maybe some of y'all have heard about in the other session, the traffic session. TTI has helped us get that started. In the education area, put out YouTube videos to inform the public, put out billboards. We have a good website. If you haven't been to my35.org, I urge you to try that website, and I'll tell you a little more about that in a minute. And so in the enforcement area, improved consistency and use of law enforcement for the lane closures. We've got off-duty police that TxDOT's paying for by force account on our projects and whenever there's a lane closure. Invite law enforcement to weekly construction meetings. Have consistent use of the advanced enforcement vehicle. Get them out there and have them follow where that end of queue is backing up to. Additional law enforcement projects. In other words, the efforts by DPS. I know the local DPS calls them wolf packs, where y'all have all seen it, where the DPS will get out there in a force of 4, 5, or 6 troopers. You know, somebody radaring travelers and another 4 or 5 troopers pulling people over, and so the local DPS has done what they can to increase those efforts. In the engineering area, we re-examined the speed limit requirements coming out of those safety summit meetings, and we got a minute order to reduce the speed to 60 miles an hour, mainly in areas where CTB is on each side of the traffic, reducing our shoulders to less than 10 foot for a mile or more. And so we've got those 60 mile an hour zones in place. Implement real-time display of speed signs for motorists. Y'all have all seen them. You know, the speed limit here is 60 miles an hour, and here's the speed you're traveling. And those seem to get people's attention. If you go through those, you can see people hitting their brake lights, so hitting their brakes. Rumble strips, as I said a little bit ago, and we've had the end of queue system. We've had over 200 deployments of the end of queue systems whenever we close a lane. If a queue is detected or expected, anticipated by TTI, we put in a end of queue warning system telling traffic, you know, slow traffic ahead or stop traffic ahead. Expand incident management information system with traffic alerts and emails. In the education area, expand public outreach on work zone safety. Use billboards. Put information at truck stops and rest areas. Hold the NHI work zone safety training course, sessions for TxDOT, contractor, and law enforcement. And we discussed trying to use a CB wizard, something that would put out a regular message to truckers. And but we found law enforcement or laws prohibited a recorded message going out on the CB, which disappointed me some. I thought that had some possibilities. More things we've done in project safety. Advanced lane closure notifications. The sign you see to the right saying I-35 to close at a certain exit on a certain date. That sign is in Austin, in the Austin district. So notifying people outside the district as they're coming into the district that expect these closures. Real-time travel conditions and incident alerts. We've got Twitter. We have a Twitter account or site. If you sign up for it, you can get that information. On my35.org, as I mentioned a minute ago, we have a lot of information. So if you haven't been to my35.org, I urge you to go look at it. And I'll show you a little bit about the map information that's available there. We put out a newsletter, and we have dedicated project staff to a public information officer. Some of the other sessions we've talked about Jody Wheatley. She's tireless in her efforts in trying to get out information to the public on lane closures and incidents. Some of the, if you go to that my35.org and click on the map for the projects in the Waco area, you'll see a map like this, and I don't know how well that can be seen there, but the highway there is showing green, and in that particular instance, traffic's flowing pretty well. If you click that options on the right, it'll show you what speed is expected when it's green, but that map and segments there can change to blue, yellow, red, I believe, maybe orange even, and again, that options will show you the legend. You know, if traffic goes down to yellow, that's like 20 to 30 miles an hour, and so it'll show you segments of where it's slow. On the left, it's telling you when and where lane closures are expected, and something else you can click on the top left. Click on the signs tab. It will show you these signs, and on the left, those, if you've driven the corridor, TTI has put up signs. They track the traffic using Bluetooth sensors, and the message boards out there will say, you know, Waco 10 miles 10 minutes, or Temple 20 miles 20 minutes, or 50 minutes. And so, you know, if you see something's 20 miles and 50 minutes, you know, well, there's a problem up ahead. But before you leave your office or your home, you can get on this website and you can see these signs before you ever get on the highway. And it'll tell you, you know, if everything's the same number of minutes as it is miles, you know it's flowing well. And if you see, and it'll even, if traffic's running slow, those signs on the left certain signs will be bordered in red, and that's signifying there's something wrong. So you can look on the map to the right and see the colors changing and see where the problems are and where to avoid. So a lot of good information, a lot of hard work by TTI putting that together. This is a picture of our finished Brazos River bridges project. Again, another one built by Lane Construction. The bridges are complete and open to traffic. Still a few odds and ends to finish there, but something we're all proud of we've got in Waco. Again, a little more information that we talk about at the Safety Summit meetings. TTI, we have an interagency contract with Texas A&M Transportation Institute, helping us with mobility coordination and public information along the corridor. And so this is some of their efforts, and I won't go into this in detail, but this is the project segments and some of the things they're tracking. I will say the blue bars are showing the accidents before we started construction, and the red bars are showing accidents during construction. So when you see a big difference between the blue and the red, such as maybe 5B, the fourth project from the right, that was a few months ago, and we had a big concern. We realized, wow, that's the Abbott, west to Abbott area. We've got some problems there, and TTI zeroed in on where that was, and it was primarily in one spot where the traffic narrowed down from 3 lanes to 2. And so we did some things, dropped the speed limit in there, and have since been able to get traffic off of the old pavement and onto the new, and that's made a lot of difference. But those efforts, here's another view of a different, this is accidents by mile point, and again, those high ones are the Temple area, the left peak there, and then the right peak is the Waco area. But again, just another view of how TTI is breaking down that data and studying that accident data for us. So back to the safety summits, they were originally scheduled monthly. We've gone to a bi-monthly schedule, holding those again with TxDOT contractor and law enforcement. We discuss the results of our efforts in those engineering, education, and enforcement areas. TTI does the crash analysis for us, and then we bring up new ideas and new issues that we want to tackle and track to improve safety along the corridor. That's an aerial photo of our bridges, the Brazos River bridges in the foreground, and Baylor's stadium there, brand new stadium behind it. Something else I wanted to touch on real quick, I know I'm out of time. We are working on an incident management plan, something else TTI is helping us with. We're trying to designate the lines of communication between us and the contractor and law enforcement, designate levels of accidents, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 3 being a full freeway closure, and what are we going to do, each of us, what do we do when that happens? And we're also, part of that plan will be detour maps and coordinating emergency signing efforts with our maintenance crews.